Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the TSS Vigilant, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the vastness of space beyond Pluto's orbit. The massive vessel, humanity's first deep space carrier, represented the pinnacle of human military engineering. Yet, as she watched the incoming readings, she felt a chill run down her spine. "Contact confirmed, Admiral," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the tension. "Multiple signatures, unlike anything we've seen before. They're not trying to hide." The data streams painted a clear picture. Over 300 vessels, each larger than anything humanity had ever built, were approaching the solar system in a precise formation. First contact was happening, but not in the way anyone had hoped. "Status of the fleet?" Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. The Terran Space Force had only 15 ships, with the Vigilant being the largest. They were supposed to be a defensive force, a deterrent against potential threats. No one had expected to face an Armada. "All ships reporting ready, Admiral. The Intrepid and Dauntless have taken flanking positions. The rest of the fleet is in standard defense formation." Chen nodded, her mind racing through options. The approaching fleet hadn't made any aggressive moves yet, but their formation was unmistakably military. They were coming in hot, their trajectory aimed straight for Earth. "Open a channel," she ordered. "All frequencies, first contact protocols." The communications officer worked quickly, and Chen straightened her uniform. Humanity's first words to an alien civilization would be hers. She had practiced this moment in simulations, but the reality felt heavier. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Space Force. You are entering sovereign human space. We welcome peaceful contact, but request you halt your advance and state your intentions." The silence that followed seemed to stretch for eternity. The alien fleet continued its approach, unabated. "Second transmission, Admiral." Chen was about to agree when the response came. It wasn't in words, at least not at first. The universal translators took several seconds to process the incoming data stream, converting it into something human ears could understand. Insignificant species, the translated voice was cold, mechanical. "Your system has been claimed by the Nexus Imperium. Surrender your worlds and submit to integration, or face extinction. You have one planetary rotation to comply." The bridge fell silent. Chen's jaw tightened as she processed the implications. Humanity's first contact with alien life, and they were being given an ultimatum. "Sir," the sensor officer's voice was urgent. "They're powering up weapon systems. Energy readings they're off the charts." Chen didn't hesitate. They had prepared for this possibility, even if no one had truly believed it would happen. "Battle stations, all ships, execute Protocol Thermopylae." Alarms blared throughout the fleet as crews rushed to their positions. The 15 ships of humanity's defense force began a complex series of maneuvers, taking up positions that had been practiced countless times, but never in actual combat. "Send word to Earth," Chen ordered. "First contact Protocol 7. And activate the Lazarus Protocol." Her second in command, Captain James Walker, looked at her sharply. "The Lazarus Protocol. That's still experimental." "Everything we have is experimental, Captain. We've never fought an alien war before." Chen's eyes remained fixed on the display. But they don't know that. The Terran ships began emitting a complex series of energy signatures, making them appear larger, more numerous on enemy sensors. It was a gambit, one of many technologies developed in secret for just such an occasion. "They're launching fighters," Rodriguez reported. "Hundreds of them." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Perfect. Execute Operation Honeypot. Let's show them why you don't underestimate humanity." The alien fighters streaked across space, their energy weapons charging. They were faster than anything humans had built, more advanced in every way. But they were about to learn something that humanity had known for millennia. Technology wasn't everything. "Launch countermeasures," Chen ordered. "And get me a direct line to their command ship." Let's see how they handle a little psychological warfare. As the first shots were fired in what would become humanity's greatest conflict, Admiral Chen couldn't help but think that the aliens had made a crucial mistake. They had assumed that humanity's technological inferiority meant an easy victory. They were about to learn that humans had been preparing for this moment for generations, and they had a few surprises ready. The battle for Earth's survival was about to begin, and humanity wasn't going down without a fight. The first wave of Nexus fighters crashed against humanity's defenses like waves against a cliff. Admiral Chen watched as the seemingly chaotic movements of her fleet resolved into perfect positioning, each ship exactly where it needed to be. Enemy casualties at 30%, Rodriguez reported. Their fighters weren't expecting our point defense systems. The Terran ships had unveiled their first surprise, gravitational pulse weapons that could track and eliminate multiple targets simultaneously. The alien fighters, despite their superior speed, found themselves caught in invisible webs of warped spacetime. They're adapting, Captain Walker noted, pointing to new formation patterns emerging among the enemy forces. Their larger ships are moving to provide cover fire. Chen nodded. The Nexus Imperium was learning, but too slowly. Execute Phase 2. All ships implement decisive echo protocols. The 15 Terran vessels suddenly split apart, each ship seeming to multiply into 3 distinct signatures on enemy sensors. The real vessels were hidden among these phantom readings, their positions masked by advanced quantum interference technology. The Nexus command ship transmitted again. Your deceptions are futile. Surrender now, and we will ensure your species survives in servitude. Chen's response was immediate. Interesting offer. But you seem to be operating under a misconception. We're not fighting for survival. She paused, allowing her next words to carry weight. We're fighting for victory. The Vigilant's main cannon fired, its shot threading through the chaos of battle with impossible precision. The beam struck a Nexus cruiser at exactly the point where its shield geometries intersected, causing a cascade failure that rippled through its defense systems. Direct hit, Walker announced. Their shields are adapting, but the targeting data has been shared with the fleet. This was humanity's true advantage. While each individual Terran ship might be technologically inferior, they functioned as a single organism, sharing tactical data and adapting strategies in real time. The Nexus fleet, for all its power, fought like separate entities. Sir, they're bringing in their capital ships, Rodriguez warned. Energy readings suggest they're preparing something big. Chen studied the tactical display. The Nexus fleet was arranging itself into a spiral pattern, their largest vessels forming the core. It was an impressive sight, but it told her something crucial. They were fighting according to doctrine, following pre-established patterns. Send to all ships. Execute Operation Glasshouse. Chen's orders were calm, measured, and prepare the quantum entanglement array. Walker's eyes widened. Admiral, that system hasn't been tested in actual combat. The power requirements alone cooled. Could leave us vulnerable, yes, Chen finished. But they're expecting us to fight conventionally, to follow the rules of space combat as they understand them. She smiled grimly. Let's show them how humans fight when everything is on the line. The quantum entanglement array was humanity's greatest secret, a system that allowed ships to briefly exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, making them virtually impossible to target. It was dangerous, experimental, and exactly the kind of advantage they needed. As the array powered up, Chen opened a channel to all Terran ships. Remember your training. Remember why we're here. Every simulation, every drill, every sleepless night preparing for this moment. It all comes down to the next few minutes. Show them what humanity can do. The Nexus capital ships fired, their combined energy weapons creating a web of destruction that would have annihilated any conventional fleet. But the Terran ships weren't where they appeared to be. They were everywhere and nowhere, their quantum states allowing them to exist in multiple positions simultaneously. Multiple confirmed hits on enemy capital ships, Rodriguez reported, excitement creeping into his voice. Their targeting systems can't compensate for the quantum fluctuations. Chen watched as the battle transformed. The Nexus fleet's superior numbers meant nothing if they couldn't effectively target their enemies. Their rigid formations, once impressive, now became predictable weaknesses to exploit. Send to Earth Command. Phase 2 successful. Requesting authorization for Phase 3. The response came quickly. Earth had been watching, waiting, preparing for this moment. The authorization was granted, and Chen felt the weight of what would come next. The real battle was about to begin, and humanity was about to reveal just how deep their preparations ran. The Nexus Imperium's response was devastating. Their capital ships, having finally recognized the true threat they faced, unleashed their full arsenal. Space itself seemed to warp and twist as exotic weapons fire crisscrossed the battlefield. Multiple hull breaches on the Intrepid, Rodriguez reported, his voice tight. Dauntless reports critical damage to their quantum array. Chen watched as her fleet's advantages began to erode. The quantum entanglement system was taxing their ship's power systems, and the Nexus fleet had begun firing in patterns that covered all possible quantum states. They were learning, adapting faster than expected. Admiral, the communications officer called out, incoming transmission from Earth Command. They're ready. A slight smile crossed Chen's face. Perfect timing. All ships, disengage quantum arrays and fall back to secondary positions. Prepare for Operation Pandora. The Terran fleet's retreat was orderly, precise, each ship moving to specific coordinates that seemed random to outside observers. The Nexus fleet pressed their advantage, their massive ships advancing like predators closing in for the kill. They're transmitting again, Rodriguez announced. They're demanding our surrender. Of course they are, Chen replied. Put them through. The alien commander's voice filled the bridge, translated into cold, mechanical English. Your tactics were unexpected, but ultimately futile. Surrender now, and we will spare your homeworld from orbital bombardment. Chen's response was calm, almost amused. You know, there's something fascinating about species like yours. You've conquered so many worlds that you've forgotten what it means to fight for survival. She paused, checking the tactical display. But humanity, we've been preparing for this moment since we first looked up at the stars and realized we might not be alone. Your preparations are inadequate, the alien commander stated. Our scans show no other defenses, no hidden fleets. You have nothing left. That's where you're wrong, Chen replied. Computer, activate Protocol 0. Authorization, Chen Alpha 70. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, across the solar system, dozens of seemingly innocent deep space monitoring stations began to transform. Automated mining platforms shifted, revealing weapon systems. Civilian satellites reconfigured into military platforms. And from the dark side of every major moon and planetoid in the system, hidden installations powered up. You see, Chen continued, we humans have a saying. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. For generations, we've been building, hiding, waiting. Every piece of infrastructure we sent into space was designed with two purposes. The Nexus fleet's advance halted as their sensors registered the massive energy signatures suddenly appearing throughout the solar system. Their perfect formation began to waver. Impossible, the alien commander's voice had lost its mechanical certainty. Our intelligence indicated. Your intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to see, Chen interrupted. Now, allow me to demonstrate why you never corner a species that has spent its entire existence preparing for this exact moment. She nodded to Walker. Initiate synchronized strike. The solar system came alive. Hidden defense platforms unleashed coordinated barrages from every direction. Automated drone swarms emerged from asteroid fields, their simple designs belying their deadly effectiveness. Each installation's fire was precisely calculated to herd the Nexus fleet into killing zones established centuries ago. Multiple direct hits, Rodriguez reported, his voice rising with excitement. Their formation is breaking apart. They weren't prepared for a three-dimensional assault. The Nexus fleet's elegant spiral pattern dissolved into chaos as they tried to defend against attacks from all directions. Their superior technology meant nothing against an enemy that had turned their entire solar system into one giant trap. "Signal the Lunar Defense Command," Chen ordered. "Tell them to power up the mass driver array." The moon's surface rippled as hidden installations revealed themselves, massive electromagnetic accelerators preparing to launch specially designed projectiles at near-light speeds. "Admiral," Walker spoke quietly, "the energy readings from their command ship. They're preparing something big." Chen nodded. She had expected this. The Nexus Imperium wasn't used to being challenged, let alone outmaneuvered. Their response would be both desperate and dangerous. "All ships prepare for Phase 4, she commanded, "and open a channel to Earth. It's time to show them our final surprise." The battle had reached its critical point. Humanity had revealed its hidden strength, but the Nexus Imperium still had the raw power to destroy everything if they chose to use it. The next few moments would determine not just the outcome of the battle, but the future of human civilization. The Nexus command ship's energy signature continued to build, its power readings exceeding anything human sensors could accurately measure. But Admiral Chen remained calm, watching the tactical display with steady eyes. "Their fleet is repositioning," Rodriguez reported. "They're forming a defensive sphere around their command ship." Chen nodded. As expected, they think they're protecting their greatest asset. Instead, they're giving us exactly what we need. She turned to Walker. "Begin transmission of the Babel Protocol." The Babel Protocol was another of humanity's carefully prepared weapons, though it fired no physical projectiles. Instead, it began broadcasting precise electromagnetic frequencies across the battlefield, frequencies that human scientists had spent decades studying and perfecting. "Quantum entanglement signatures detected in their communications network," the science officer announced. "The disruption is working." The Nexus fleet's coordinated movements began to falter. Their ships, heavily reliant on quantum-based communications, found their command and control systems degrading. The elegant defensive sphere became ragged, gaps appearing in their formation. "They're switching to backup systems," Walker observed. "But their response time is dropping." Chen opened a channel to the Nexus command ship. "I imagine you're experiencing some communication difficulties. Would you like to know why?" She didn't wait for a response. "We've been studying quantum entanglement technology since before we reached space, not for weapons or shields, but for communication. We knew that any advanced civilization would rely on it, and we knew exactly how to disrupt it." The alien commander's response came through garbled, their translation systems struggling against the interference. "This, impossible. You are a primitive species. You cannot." "Primitive." Chen's laugh was cold. "We let you think that. Every piece of technology you've seen us use today was carefully chosen, deliberately revealed. But now," she nodded to her weapons officer, "show them what primitive really means." The lunar defense grid activated its second phase, but instead of launching physical projectiles, it began emitting precisely calibrated gravitational waves. The waves themselves were harmless, unless they interacted with the exact type of quantum shielding technology the Nexus ships used. "Shield failures reported across their fleet," Rodriguez announced. "Their defensive matrix is collapsing." The alien commander's voice crackled through again, now tinged with something new. "Fear. How? Your species. You shouldn't have this knowledge." "Because we're younger, less advanced." Chen's voice was steady. "You're right about one thing. We are younger. And that means we remember something you've forgotten. The most dangerous moment for any civilization is first contact. So we prepared. For centuries, we studied every possibility, developed countermeasures for technologies we hadn't even seen yet. Everything you've encountered today was designed specifically to defeat an advanced alien civilization. The Nexus command ship's energy readings suddenly spiked. Then you leave us no choice. If we cannot have this system, we will ensure no one can. I was hoping you'd say that, Chen replied. She turned to her crew. Execute final protocol. Throughout the solar system, hidden quantum receivers activated. These devices, scattered across every planet, moon, and asteroid, had been waiting for this moment. They began generating a precise quantum interference pattern, one that expanded exponentially across space. The effect was immediate. The massive energy buildup in the Nexus command ship began to fluctuate, its carefully controlled power systems disrupted by the quantum interference. You didn't really think we'd let you charge up a weapon that could destroy our solar system, did you? Chen's voice was almost gentle. We've been bleeding off your power accumulation since you started. All that energy. It's been dispersed safely across thousands of quantum sinks throughout the system. The alien commander's response was static-filled, but the disbelief was clear. Your entire system. It's all a weapon. No, Chen corrected. It's a defense system, one built by a species that looked at the stars and asked themselves, what if the first aliens we meet aren't friendly? And then spent generations making sure we'd be ready. The battle had reached its turning point. The Nexus fleet's technological superiority had been systematically neutralized, their tactics countered, their ultimate weapon rendered useless. But as Chen watched their ships beginning to break formation, she knew the hardest part was still to come. Because now humanity had to decide what kind of galactic civilization they wanted to be. Would they destroy their defeated enemies, or show them that humanity's preparation for war didn't mean they desired it? The Nexus fleet hung in space, their once perfect formations shattered, their mighty weapons neutralized. Admiral Chen studied the tactical display, watching as the alien ships drifted in disarray, their command structure in chaos. Multiple ships are powering down, Rodriguez reported. Others are attempting to retreat, but our quantum interference is preventing FTL jumps. Chen opened a channel to the Nexus command ship. Your fleet is defeated. Your weapons are useless. You have two choices now. Continue this fight and be destroyed, or surrender and learn who we really are. The response came after a long pause, the alien commander's translated voice stripped of its earlier arrogance. You could have destroyed us already. Why haven't you? Because that's not who we are, Chen replied. Yes, we prepared for war. Yes, we built weapons you couldn't imagine. But we did it all for one purpose, to ensure that when we finally met other civilizations, we could choose peace from a position of strength. She nodded to Walker, who initiated a new transmission, not of weapons or interference patterns, but of information. Images and data streamed to the Nexus fleet. Earth's history, its art, its achievements, its struggles. Most importantly, its countless stories of different peoples learning to coexist. We're sending you our history, Chen explained. Not just our victories, but our failures too. The wars we fought among ourselves, the mistakes we made, the lessons we learned. We want you to understand something. We didn't prepare for this day because we wanted to fight. We prepared because we wanted to survive long enough to make our own choices. The Nexus commander was silent for several moments, processing this unexpected turn. Your species, you are not what we expected. No, we're not, Chen agreed. And that's the point. You came here expecting to find either easy prey or a rival empire. Instead, you found humanity. We're not interested in conquering your worlds or destroying your civilization. We're interested in something far more challenging, building a future where we don't have to fight at all. She gestured to Walker, who brought up a new display showing Earth's diplomatic protocols. Carefully prepared plans for peaceful first contact that had been developed alongside the military preparations. So here's our offer, Chen continued. Surrender your fleet, not as prisoners, but as guests. Come to Earth, meet us, learn who we are. And then, when you understand us better, we can discuss how our civilizations might benefit each other. And if we refuse, Then you've already seen what we can do. Chen's voice was firm, but not threatening. But I don't think you will refuse. Because you're curious now, aren't you? You want to know how a primitive species managed all this. You want to understand what else we might be capable of. The silence that followed was longer this time. Finally, the Nexus commander spoke again. You are correct. We accept your terms. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Excellent. Then let me be the first to officially welcome you to Earth space, this time as guests rather than invaders. Over the next several hours, the Nexus fleet powered down their weapons. Earth ships began escort procedures, guiding the alien vessels to predetermined diplomatic contact zones. But Chen's work wasn't done. She opened a channel to Earth Command. Phase 5 complete. Beginning diplomatic protocols. She paused, then added, and send word to the Artemis protocol teams. Tell them they can begin emerging from deep cover. Walker looked at her sharply. The Artemis protocol. There's more. Chen smiled. Captain, did you really think Earth's defenses were our only preparation? The Artemis protocol teams have been out there for decades, establishing hidden colonies, building backup civilizations. Because humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our tactics, it's our determination to survive and thrive, no matter what. As the combined fleet moved toward Earth, Chen reflected on the day's events. Humanity had faced its first major interstellar challenge and emerged victorious not just through force of arms, but through the strength of its preparations and the wisdom to know when to show mercy. The stars had once seemed like a barrier, then a threat. Now they were becoming a bridge. Humanity had proven itself ready not just for war, but for peace, and that perhaps was the greatest victory of all.